Well, sitting here alone in my room for the weekend. It's Friday night. Saturday morning. It's 2:30. I got really nostalgic, homesick and everything. So I got out the box that I have kind of some keepsakes in. And I probably will show you guys some more of those maybe tomorrow or something. But I found a story in an old journal of mine. One of the many that I've started and never filled up and then moved on to a new one later. And I wanted to read it to you because I really like it, and I never did much with it. I wrote it and kind of forgot about it. And actually what it is an adaptation of a story in here. This, as you can see, very old. It's hard to see in this horrible lighting. It's a love letter from when I was 17 and I was with John. My family took a vacation up to the north shore of Lake Superior, and I got in a very artsy mood. It was actually a fairly well-written letter. I almost want to read it to you guys. But I'm going to read you the story instead. I changed the setting of when I saw. It's a story about two people I saw, and I actually saw them when I was writing this letter for John, and wrote about them in here. But I changed the setting and just related having seen them in a different scenario. Instead of writing a love letter, I put the scenario I don't know, but as me being what I was when I wrote the story, which was more of an embittered ex-lover and just being kind of down on love, and it ended up working out fairly well. So you'll have to forgive my reading and not looking at the camera too much. I'm not very practiced with this one, but I just kind of want to get it out there. Had to change positions there because my real light turned back on again. I need to get that fixed. But, so, if I can read this fast enough, I should be able to get it done before it shuts off again. So, better lighting and a better position. Yay! To forget about the rain. It's hard, when you've had your heart broken, to think about love in a positive light. When you're lonely, you'd rather everyone else was too. You'd prefer to believe that true love doesn't exist than to admit that yours went wrong. When someone steals every piece of your heart that you would have given freely, it becomes impossible to trust that not everyone will. I recently found myself there, determined to believe that love is nothing more than a psychotic dependence on another person for happiness, convinced to the core that no one deserved that kind of control over my feelings. One day, full of those kind of thoughts, being that the weather was kind of gloomy and suited my mood, I set off on a walk and ended up meandering through a local park. I situated myself on a park bench and contented myself with observing the others around me. I became caught up in the joys of others that I was incapable of experiencing for myself. A young couple strolled by holding hands and looking positively giddy. The woman wore an engagement ring on her finger, obviously new by the way she kept playing with it. I shook my head, masking the sudden surge of jealousy for their felicity by thinking to myself what miseries lay before them when their dream ended. Not long after they passed by, another couple sat down not far from my bench of perpetual gloom. This time, it was an elderly gentleman and his wife. They were holding hands and smiling at each other, the perfect picture of love and mush. They didn't speak. It seemed they didn't need to. They were comfortable. As much as I loathed it, those two shattered my mood of self-imposed cynicism. Instead, I just cried inside that they had something I had lost. A simple glance into their faces was like a portal to their past together. Years of wonderful experiences, laughter and joy were almost visible. I envied the happiness that had led them through the years to that park bench. The perfect happiness. Suddenly, the skies opened overhead and it began to rain. Heavy sheets of water fell from the sky without warning. I was enraged at the weather of all things. I had left the house ready for the rain, and with a disposition to match any storm. But this was absolutely unfair. This lovely couple had gone for a walk just to enjoy each other. They were happy and harmless. They didn't deserve to be rained on. Then I looked at them again. Instead of grabbing his wife and running for cover from the deluge, the man simply reached under his bench and pulled out an umbrella. Together they huddled underneath its cover and continued sitting undisturbed. Instead of running them off, the rain brought them closer together. They continued to enjoy each other and ignored the downpour that surrounded them. At that moment, something clicked in my mind. They had been prepared. This wasn't their first storm. More than just happy experiences had brought them to that moment. They must have weathered many trials together to have reached their age and still remained so close. Perhaps they had even experienced heartbreak from others before finding each other. Now that they were together and content, they weren't about to let a little rain rob them of their time together. As all of this sank in, I began to realize things about my own life. I got up from my bench and headed toward home, trying to think about ways to apply my newfound revelations to my own life. On my way, I passed the younger couple I'd seen earlier. They were playing shuffleboard in the pouring rain. They were soaked from head to toe and laughing. That day in the park taught me something about love. I don't need perfection. I don't need someone on whom I'm utterly dependent to believe that love exists. And I don't need a million promises in order to trust someone. All I need is someone who can make me forget about the rain. Yeah. That's that. That's this. Hope you liked it. Ah, I'm shiny.